Chapter 59. This night, I wake up to a strange ceiling. Vampire minds are instantly clear, and I am spared the instinctive panic of one who comes to, in an unexpected place. Instead, I decide to take stock. The guest quarters are a set of 2 rooms and a bath, all in beige rocks, silk and goose feathers. The mix of both Spartan and luxurious is peculiar, and I suppose this should be close to Persian aesthetics, though I could be wrong. There is even a basket of fruits, mundane ones this time. The antechamber doubles as a social space, and its emptiness turns it from welcoming to ominous. There is not even a lamp right now. I take a deep breath to settle myself. Yesterday was taxing. I don't really care about the incredible revelations I heard, although now I have further questions. It was taxing because I realized what I really am. Not some cursed human, but a new entity built from a corpse and the essence of an alien being. I find that hard to digest. I feel degraded. More importantly, I feel like I lie to myself. Aunt Urian's father. Or is it Papa? I have not decided yet. He helped and protected me after I escaped from the Lancaster arena. He gave me the tall errant rifle. He kept in touch via letters until I left for Marquette, then I had Isaac notify him that I had to go into hiding. I want to believe that he really cared, and so did I. We were there for each other when it counted. That was not a lie. And yet... Bah, enough of this. I will not get my mind off this loop anytime soon, and I already told myself I had to get away from here first. I should go see my host. After all, midnight is close with summer nights only lasting a bit over 9 hours. I sniff my skin. Vampires don't exactly smell bad, but we do have a scent, and I have it now. I must now face a decision. Do I take the time to clean myself up, or do I ask questions to the incredibly knowledgeable 3 millennia-old archmage who created our race? Let me just brush my hair. 2 minutes later, I emerge from the labyrinth of corridors and alleys onto the circle where Queen Semiramis waits. It appears that the facility is considerably larger than what this mount should be able to contain, which I would find stupefying any other day. Now, a giant working broomstick could walk out of the ground to launder my dress and I would not even bat an eye. It has been that kind of week. Like yesterday, she sits at the table with a pot of mysterious tea, clad in toga the color of sand that manages to show her generous figure without being vulgar. In the background, the enthralled people are still dancing around, looking worse for wear. They now move with manic passion, and those who stumble out collapse immediately. The queen looks exhausted. Dark pockets line her eyes and her face is tight. She blinks in a way that speaks of headache as soon as she sees me. If it were me, I would look like death warmed over. The queen, though, looks delicate and vulnerable. She is a tender rose that needs to be protected, never mind the thorns. And she does it so effortlessly too. Good evening, Ariane. Come, join me. Have you slept well? Better than you apparently. She snorts, and by that I mean, she pushes air through her regal nose in a way that makes me feel that I am intimate with a great personage. Her alto voice is rougher than yesterday, and it has a bite. I forgot how irreverent kingless people can be. I almost missed it. Now tell me, would you care for a talk? The grand spell is easy to channel, but I cannot move from here, and I could really use a distraction from a proper conversationalist. I almost smile at the offhand compliment. She has the devil's silver tongue, truly, and I am more than happy to oblige. I also need distraction. It is growing now, more and more. The thirst. It has been 3 days. For a moment I consider asking for her essence, but I reconsider. She knows what our bloodline is capable of, and if I ask, she may consider me a threat. Or rude. Not much difference as far as her family is concerned. I would rather have answers to some pressing questions, even if the first one is still risky. May I ask you about that spell you weave? Once more she looks like a teacher who finds her student amusing. This is the second question I expected you to ask, after the traditional "Who are you?" Alas, I would prefer not to reveal its purpose. Just know that it is no danger to you, at least not directly. Am I correct in assuming that it will change the world? This time she looks pleased. Only a small part of it, the one that matters to me. But enough of this. Ask more and take my thoughts off this growing migraine. Right. First question, I am unable to cast a spell, but I was told that it could change? She nods in approval. Ah, impatient to dabble in the mystic arts, are we? Yes. If you survive long enough to become a master yourself, you will be allowed to touch your own essence. It will be your fuel for casting spells, just like human mages use theirs. Vampires have a knack for blood magic, and I sense some potential in you, though it would not have awakened inside your mortal self. Wait, do you mean that my family has mages? Perhaps. Many mortals have traces of power, but in this realm they will rarely manifest. Such was the case for you. Again, without paying attention, she referred to my human self as me. I decide to let it go for now. Any advice on how to get started? When the time comes, do not discard mortal teachers. They retain the drive and intuition that comes with their nature. For the same reason, do not despair when you progress slowly. It is inevitable, just as they will die of old age eventually. Eventually. Yes, mages of great power age more slowly. Most only reach a stage where it matters when they are already old. Beware a youthful archmage. They are the most gifted. I remember Belinda and realized that she may have been slightly older than I thought. Not that it matters now. Anything else? Not specifically. Just follow your instincts when it comes to blood magic and you will do fine. Thank you. Well, if it's fine, I had questions concerning bloodlines. If I understand correctly, all the progenitors come from elixirs you brewed. Yes, and I may just do so again. I follow the Watcher's whims on this matter. Thankfully, it happens less than once a century on average. Master mentioned that there are 14 bloodlines he knows of. Are there more? Maybe. Why don't you tell me those you have met, and I will tell you of them. More than 14 bloodlines. So much to devour. Alright, calm down. Answers. Focus on answers. Let's start chronologically. The Lancaster. Ah yes, charmers one and all. They became so talented at moving masses during the War of the Roses that their progenitor was slain by a once-in-history alliance of mages, brothers of the Order of Gabriel, and even some vampires. It was an entertaining time. Right. The Caddies. They can focus on a task with unerring concentration. It makes them particularly good duelists and helps with practicing a craft. Their tunnel vision has hurt them in the past, however. Their progenitor is gone. He is one of the few to ever cross a portal to another world. I still do not know how he managed it, why, and where he ended up. He was quite old as well, as he drank the elixir in the 9th century of your era. Wow. Right. Next, the Roland? Incredible willpower, though it makes them quite stubborn. They date back to the end of your 8th century, and their progenitor was changed quite close to the Cadiz one, geographically speaking. It was an interesting time for Europe, to be sure. I had to move more often in those times. Their progenitor is currently in deep slumber. The weight of centuries lies heavy on the mind of the truly old ones. They need to rest for years, on occasion. I remember that Master used his unplanned shipwreck to nap at the bottom of the Atlantic, proof that he's not immune. How about Neocon? A curious bunch, always eager to experience new things. You know of their book, the one that recollects every new and unique experience? My friend mentioned it, yes. The greatest entry of all was made by Ekon himself. He died to experience the sun, and sent his impressions to a telepath on the very moment of his demise. Nami already mentioned it, I think. That does not surprise me coming from those madmen. Moving on. I met an Aeolus spawn, he had turned rogue. Her face scrunches in mild disapproval, the most intense emotion she has displayed so far tonight. Their stupid strength is legendary. It can be an incredible boon, it is just a shame that they rarely have the intellect to match. I don't understand why they do not recruit someone smart and strong, it is not like those people do not exist. Bah. Natalus himself disappeared. I personally think he got lost or drunk and the sun caught him. I do not know what the Watcher sees in them. Entertainment, probably. I also met a member of the Rosenthal clan. Semiramis raises her eyes in exasperation. Never mind the Natalis, apparently it is the quiet and peaceful defenders of knowledge who have drawn her ire. Those bores. How many times must I say no before they understand that I do not wish to be disturbed with their ceaseless questions? I swear, every decade some fresh-faced nincompoop thinks he found the holy grail that will lure me away from my research. The fools. I would have razed their headquarters to the ground if they were not so useful. And that old bat of a progenitor is simply insufferable. I witness the explosion of temper with some trepidation. A sore spot, it seems. Either Isaac's progenitor is incredibly annoying, or Semiramis' control is slipping. Better distract her. There are no other clan I can think of right now. Really, she answers impatiently, you have never heard of Constantine? What? The speaker for the Accords, the nominal head of vampires in North America? The very same. Am I correct in assuming that you have never met? You are. That is a shame, for Constantine is fairly young as far as progenitors go, and I am unsure as to what his powers are. He has not sired any spawn yet. Well, good luck finding out. The Queen frowns, perhaps trying to decide if I insulted her or not. I really need to keep her talking. Your Majesty, how about other bloodlines? She inclines her head by a fraction, probably to show that she was not duped by my feeble attempt at distracting her. She still obliges. There is the Amaretta clan. They are seers and are interested in the future, perhaps a bit too much. You can recognize them by the veil they always wear. One of the night squad members was an Amarettan. Amaretta is active, but she spends all her time contemplating and gazing into the future. Not an action person, that one. The next are Lidver. The second oldest clan after yours. They have land-based mentality and powers, and all their members are part of Inaru. Do you know the main vampire alliances? Inaru is about ruling fairly, the masks influence things from the shadows, and the Brotherhood is about personal pursuits, if I remember correctly. Aptly summarized. The Dver progenitor is currently slumbering away in the heart of his fortress, somewhere in North Africa. Then there is the Arenwald clan. They are the only vampires animals do not fear. They wield some strange magic, primal and dangerous. Agate was in Arenwald. I need to check if I can approach animals again. In front of me, Semiramis chuckles with such a demeaning air that I feel like a child. Their progenitor turned into a tree. A tree. Can you believe it? Preposterous. In any case, the next are the Hastings, and they are an interesting lot. They are physically weaker than all other houses, but the benefits are worth it, in my opinion. They can eat and digest human food, and stand the rays of the sun. The current head of the masks is one of them, and Lady Hastings fell for a human. They eloped. They live in a small cottage in the back end of Derbyshire. What? How? Can't he tell? She would just appear as a sickly woman who doesn't go out much. I was told there is no shortage of those in England. I am sure she has ways of finding sustenance. Isn't she more vulnerable living that way? Few know of what I tell you, and fewer still would attempt to take advantage. Why risk the fury of someone who can sway the governments of the most powerful nations on earth when she voluntarily removed herself from the chessboard? It would be folly. I see. Do you think? You will never gain sun immunity like them, but perhaps it would allow you to wake earlier. I had felt hope for a moment here. So nice of her to squash it before it can grow. Yes, so nice. Oh, do not make that face, Ariane. It does not become one who has survived so much. There is a lot for me to process. You can hardly blame me for feeling out of sorts. Of course, now who is next on the blood-sucking list, only two. Let us start with the Kalinin. They are mostly based around Russia, and most of your Eastern siblings' allies come from their rank. It is said that they can wield holy equipment, so long as their cause is just. Are you sure? This feels impossible. Yes, they fight for this world even if they are not of it. It is closely linked to belief, I suppose. Their progenitor is dead, by the way. He was slain and devoured by your master. I do not understand why people still come after him knowing all of this. He would be more dissuasive if he were in the habit of leaving survivors, that is true. The last line is the Vanheim. They are a wild card and I do not know myself who their progenitor was. Their powers are random and surprising. A bit of chaos in the game, if you will. They are rare and mostly solitary, which makes them mostly wanderers. And with this, I believe we have addressed your question entirely. It has been so long since I gave a lecture. I was afraid of losing my touch. Thank you for your answers, Your Majesty. You are welcome, young one. I must interrupt you, unfortunately. We are reaching a crucial part of the spell, and I will need to focus entirely on it. Do enjoy the show, for you will never see its like again. Without further ado, she stands up and I mimic her out of politeness, only to realize that I am standing outside of the circle. I note in passing that space really isn't behaving around here, but soon all other thoughts disappear in the background before the incredible show. I have my back to the entrance, and to my front and left, the overhang dips down to reveal the veil where her thrills are dancing. As I watch, the few tired dancers suddenly burst into motion, soon joined by frenetic companions. Concentric circles of men and women in mismatched clothes move with insane fervor, their clear exhaustion a sharp contrast with garish clothes and orgasmic faces. The mad waltz grows to a crescendo, and from here I can see the sickly skin tones and the poisonous pleasure they have fallen prey to as they twist and jump beyond what their weakened frames can bear. She is killing them. The impact of their feet on the soil echoes with their heartbeats in a hypnotic music that makes me want to join them and drain them in equal measure. They scream in joy as the life is torn from their bodies, pooling visibly in the circle onto their tormentor until the construct glows a vivid indigo. I have no idea how powerful a spell must be so that its fuel is visible with the naked eye, and then I find out. The mortals outside scream all at once and Semiramis drops the barrier separating her glyph from the world. Reality sobs. My mind blanks completely. Something incredible pulses once, as if the planet itself had a heart. I am physically compressed by the power unleashed and for one moment, I believe I'm going to die. When I can think again, I need to take a few steps back. A double helix of pure power emerges from the ground to the sky above in great waves. The noise is deafening, and the heat and aura emanating from the woven strands force me to grit my teeth. Dark blood drips from my nose, eyes and ears, but I cannot look away from the incredible scene. The queen herself floats above the ground with her arms spread wide. She speaks and I scream. We all scream. Her voice burns my mind with images of stabilized pathways and aligned spheres, concepts I cannot comprehend. Only my inability to comply saves my spirit from total destruction. Her command lasts for but a few instants, or for an eternity, I cannot tell. After she is done, colors bleed into each other like spilled dye until the spell overhead explodes. Another pulse bends the word again, in the other direction. I cannot see. I press my hands to my ears but I cannot feel. Even my instincts are silent. Darkness. I am in darkness. All my senses are gone. Am I dead? I reach into my mental fortress and find the comforting surroundings of the master bedroom intact. Not dead then, probably. I return to reality to find that I can finally see. Technically, I only see shapes, but at least there is some progress. As my view improves, my ears pop and now I can hear a high-pitched whistle. After that I feel stone under me. It takes a few more seconds before I cough a goblet of blood and pass a shaky hand before my face to clear out the dark blood covering it. I can see now. Semiramis is on her knees, in the middle of her circle now black and charred beyond recognition. She looks drained, weak, but there is a smile of triumph on her face as she looks in front of her. Bargain completed, kill. I held until the spell was done, as promised. If I were to strike her now, before I can decide anything, I find myself riveted by yet another display of impossibility. The construct was cast, yes, but its result is only now showing itself, and what a result it is. In the heart of the veil, human forms are strewn around like broken puppets. Some of them move weakly while a majority are clearly dead. At the center of the first circle of now-deceased dancers, the world is broken. It is as if someone had brought a knife to a painting. In the background, we are still in Illinois. In the foreground, like seen through cracks in an opaque window, an endless desert of gray and pink stone spreads as far as the eye can see. Jagged spikes emerge from the ground under a sky of dusty blue, while pale lichen clings to life under some round rocks. The sun bleeds an angry red, casting strange shadows on our side's grass. For a second, I fear I would disintegrate under the waning light, but nothing happens. The foreign star's rays leave my flesh alone. Fascinated by this glimpse of another world, I almost miss the patter of heavy appendages on sandy ground, and so I am surprised when something comes into view. There's life there, and it is terrifying. A herd of strange creatures trots forward from behind a larger shard of stone. A colder part of me reflects that they probably belong to the same species but with different purposes, like ants perhaps, or wasps. The vampire side reflects that those are clearly predators, competition, while the purely Aryan part can only think one thing. What in the seven circles of hell is that unholy pile of abomination? What sick god gave birth to those horrors? There are three types of beings. The first is the smallest and more numerous. They hover above their kin like a malevolent swarm. Dragonfly wings bat the air with a sinister hum, with two atrophied limbs tugged under a red lean body as large as a raccoon. Two more limbs ending in sharp claws encircle a triangular head with a smattering of eyes. They dart back and forth looking for the watcher knows what. The second kind is clearly made of outriders. I spot about 24 of them the size of small ponies, with 6 limbs ending in talons. They are as red as their brethren, but their face has only 2 eyes and a pair of pincers. And above them all dominates a horror I never thought could exist. The beast is as large as a small barn. Its 6 massive limbs support a body with a larger back end disturbingly insectoid in nature, while its face simply does not exist. Instead, the creature sports a set of tentacles equipped with bony protrusions facing inward. Whoever gets caught by this is not getting out, I believe. It turns towards me and samples the air with a long pink tongue. Its mouth is like a gate into the abyss. There is a sound like broken bones being set back and one of the brakes in reality snaps close. Besides a quickly fading blur, it is as if there had never been anything. The bigger thing sniffs the air once more then bellows. The sound is absolutely atrocious. The closest analogy I can find is a mix between shredding steel, a bobcat being skinned alive, and a woman giving birth. I shudder in disgust. And to think I had to go to a hellish landscape to find a serious contender to the squeals of flaming pigs is the worst sound ever made. The abominable creature moves closer to the breach, surrounded by its unholy brood. I fight my body to force myself to move. I manage to close 2 fists and lift my chest off the ground, but my legs are still unresponsive, and I am growing thirsty. Come on, get up. It passes its maw through the breach and samples the air again. The swarm around it grows agitated. Please no. The breach is too small for it, right? Right? One more break snaps back to normal and the warning spurs the monster forward. The others follow it through the break as it gingerly tests the grass with a hesitant stumpy leg. When nothing occurs, it gurgles and its followers fall on the defenseless mages in an orgy of blood and violence. The few surviving men and women can do nothing but slowly crawl away as flyers and outriders slaughter and devour them alive. In the middle of the grisly melee, the larger creature grabs corpse after corpse and makes them disappear in the abyss of its gullet with a horrific gurgle. A regal voice distracts me, easily covering the sounds of the feast. That would be a Murghol Mana hound pack. I learned of them in a long-lost tome that fell through the cracks of the world. They are artificial creatures designed to hunt and kill mages, used in that dying world you saw. She sounds conversational, as if we were 2 ladies attending an event. Those who allowed her to come this far are being devoured as they still draw breath, and she does not care in the slightest. They were just tools for her, and she sacrificed them without hesitation. Not even cattle would receive this treatment. I am a vampire. I have little sympathy for most mortals, but tonight she is the real monster. There is not a trace of empathy in the woman before me, and even if her heart still beats, It is cold. Of course, continues the queen, there's little left here to sate their hunger for magic. Once they are done with the McGur fair, they will hunt the next mage with extreme prejudice. She stares down at me with a triumphant smirk. The spell is done, and we are now in a stable alignment with our closest neighboring spheres. You just witnessed a revolution in magic, little one. I hope you appreciated the show. As promised, you are free to go. I would hurry if I were you. I do not even contemplate going after her now that she has nothing else to focus on. Even in her exhausted state she could surely turn me inside out with a flick of her finger. Wait, what does she mean I should hurry? I am no mage. Unless. The safe house is only an hour away from here, at a slow pace, surely they would not. The biggest creature samples the air and its revolting snout turns west. Ah, please no. With one last grunt the thing goes forth, followed by its menagerie. The swarm of flyers spreads out. Merit. All my followers. No, I won't let them die. I stand up, turn to Semiramis's amused figure and bow politely one last time. I shall take my leave, Your Majesty. See that you do. For what it is worth, I had a pleasant time in your company. Until we meet again, little princess. I turn around and run, past the studies and the private apartments, past the bedrooms and laboratory. During this, I hear the chime-like chuckle of the immortal queen, glacial and merciless. There are no unexpected space shenanigans, and I find myself outside in record time. I whistle for Metis, and she rides past as I grab for her. Hold on, she was waiting outside all this time. Poor thing, I hope she did not suffer from deprivation too much. A flash of pink attracts my gaze and I realize that the galloping equine is casually munching on somebody's hairy forearm. Ah well, she can take care of herself. Now that I am outside of the cave, I realize that Merit set up a beacon and is probably looking for me. Such brazen display of magic is unusual, especially because she must have sensed the spell. It is not like her to be so careless. I hope I am not too late. I angle Metis parallel to the path of the horrid creature and its nightmarish brood, leaving it to my right, and we soon gain on them. The Murghole creatures do not appear to be that fast, perhaps they make up for it in stamina. And I spoke too fast. An outrider jumps from an overhang to block the narrow valley we find ourselves in. The flyers to spot and harry. The outriders to catch and corner. The behemoth to crush resistance. They are truly well designed, and this is before I know of whatever tool they have against magic. I spur Metis forward. Not with actual spurs, mind you, I am not suicidal. The proud warhorse sprints forward with a defiant neigh, and I grab my spear from my saddle. When we are but half a second away from the ready beast, another one jumps at us from above. I stab up and push into its body, then angle the shaft to the left, using its own momentum to smash it against a rock. It yelps in pain and rage. I remove the spear with a gush of red ichor, aiming forward, for nothing. Metis snorts, and as the other hunter jumps at her, she lifts herself on her hind legs and smashes down. I hear broken bones and screeches of pain, then silence as we leave its mangled form behind. She barely slowed it all. Well done, I say, and pat her neck. Unfortunately, our triumph is short-lived. More howls sound from behind us and the first flyers catch up easily. They hover around us, diving in on occasion to try to harry her flank. I pierce the first creature in the head and find it surprisingly hard. Hits to the body fare better. As their number increases, I switch to just damaging the wings to disable them instead of killing them outright. After half a dozen fall, the rest move to a safer distance, but they do not leave. I now regret bringing nothing but the spear, and I have no way to warn Merit and the others. Time will be short. Metis and I soon overtake the small horde which we still hear behind our back. We tread through narrow valleys and escarpments at breakneck speed, leaving clouds of dust and broken needles in our path. I would be completely lost were it not for the beacon. I do not understand how Metis always finds the easiest path forward either, but I count myself lucky. Our window will be short. The safe house is located on top a forested hill, hidden from view by a dense patch of pines. It is a simple one-story edifice of logs half buried into the ground. Stores of powder and weapon racks would allow defenders to repel a vigorous assault, and a small cellar acts as a last-ditch protection against this place's most obvious weakness, fire. The problem here is that camouflage remains the most serious defense of this place, and this protection was thrown to the winds the moment Merritt announced her presence to anyone with a hint of magic. I slow down Metis to a trot as we make our way to the ring of tall pines and whistle when I come in view of the inner clearing. I cut my signal short out of surprise. In a single day, the unassuming bunker was turned into a defensible position by the apparent determination of Merritt's group. A full barricade of sharp spikes surrounds the structure, and from here I can see the tip of hats and bayonets. Torches on sconces light the entire perimeter, giving even mortals a clear visibility. "It's her!" yells a familiar voice. I approach and realize that quite a group has assembled here. My usual odd squad foot soldiers number around 10 now, and they have joined with Merritt, John, and Nami. This is all well and good, but we cannot stay here. Gather up, we're leaving. There are monsters coming, and they're after mages. Merritt, hop on your horse, we will need to drive them away from the main group, then break off. What monsters are we talking about exactly? Asks Nami with a frustrated voice. They are called mana hounds, but I don't know what they can do. No one has faced them on Earth yet. What did you just say? She answers with surprise. It's a long story, and? Are you sure nobody has faced one before? She asks with a widening, insane smile. No one ever? We would be the first? Oh no. Chapter 60. All the remaining mortals, a dozen people including Merritt, gather around us to witness our untimely argument. I frown at Nami's display. Our arrangement is clear. She may be my elder and a master, but as long as the year of service is not ended, I remain in charge. This has worked so far in part due to my lax approach to service and our friendly relationship. That is why I did not expect insubordination from her, not at this time. I hiss softly, baring my fangs to her alone. You said those monsters hunted mages? Asks Merritt with a hint of worry. I turn my attention away from Nami, who only seems amused by my display. I'll show her. Later. Focus, hurry. Ignore the thirst. Yes. Do not use spells. You will be fine, we will ride on medicine. What happens if I do run? Will they stop at some point? Before sunrise? If they lose us, will they go for the nearest mage after me? I don't know. If you run. What if they go after my kids? Ah. Yes, her children. They already have an aura, even though they cannot use it yet. Merritt realizes that I know very little about the beasts when I do not reply. What if they rampage through the countryside unchecked? Can they reproduce? David King, whom I bought and released and who joined the squad, comes forth as well. Miss Lethe, we know you and Eminata try to purge the world from evil despite your curse. We will help you on this and, God willing, we will end this scourge before it can cause harm to the population. The other members of the squad nod in approval, white, black and native united in purpose around God apparently. When did it happen? Did I create a new order of Gabriel? An order of Ariane, so to speak? In the background, John's simple smile is unerring. If I say we leave, he is the only one who will obey without complaint. Mistaking my intention, he frowns in an attempt to show he is serious. The ghastly result could send a prison warden running. I shoot for you, Miss Lethe. He adds while waving around the heavily modified wolf slayer. The ominous crossbow looks like a normal-sized weapon in his hands, meaning it would be otherwise mounted as a fixed piece of artillery on some castle wall. I signed resignation. I have been outvoted. Me, the supposed vampire master of Marquette. Ah well. I pat Metis, dismount and jump over the barricade and pass between the group to the armory below, adding as I go, fair enough then, I'll get changed. Keep your eyes peeled for flying horrors and breaking trees. I rush into the main room, currently covered in sleeping bags and personal effects, to a corner where my own gear lays. I change into my most heavily armored gown, with an enchanted heart protector and add a knife belt, 2 pistols, and a long dagger made after him in his gift but without the enchantments. I also pick up my spear, my rifle, and a mining powder charge which I place in a bag at my back. A knock on the door makes me look up just as I am done loading and priming the last firearm. "Come in." John enters and closes the door behind him with measured movements, just as I told him to do after he broke too many pieces of furniture back in the dream. He looks at me with shyness, so I ask, "What is it, John?" "Ms. Nami said you were too thirsty. She said you need a bit of blood. I want to help." I consider. They are both right, of course, but I have always considered John to be in the list of people I would not drink from. According to my own set of rules, I cannot take the blood from people I am currently cooperating with, supplicants before the deal and children. I hesitate. Is an offering the same? Ms. Nami said if you say no, if you are hurt later then you will lose control and take blood anyway. She says you have a choice now, but you won't later. That is fairly accurate, and yet. I say, why you don't want my blood? Is my blood bad because I'm dumb? What? No, that's not true at all. Somehow, I find the big oaf endearing. I do not want to follow it to suffer needlessly. He is mine. Then take blood and help protect Marquette. I help too. I will always help. I sigh and smile softly, disarmed by his helpless look. Denying him would feel like kicking the world's ugliest puppy. All right, John, you win. The man extends his wrist and I realize that there is a small logistical issue with feeding this time. His wrists are as big as my leg. 5 minutes and a painful jaw later, I come out of the cabin fed, armed and feeling like a brand new woman. The troop gathers around me, covered in weapons and primed for bloodshed. I feel a bit of pride at the sight. They are here because of what I built over the past 2 decades. Time for a plan, and as those things go, easier is usually better when we have so little time to prepare. Alright, listen up. Those are magic hunting creatures, so merit, don't throw magic at them, keep the beacon going until they find us, then switch to guns. Now, there are 3 kinds of monsters. The first is small, flying ones. Don't shoot them unless you're sure of your shot. Let Nami and me handle them, and if they attack you stab them in the chest, not the head. The next is big hound-like creatures the size of small ponies. Those are your priority, use everything you can to stop them from overwhelming us. Finally, the pack is led by a huge creature the size of a small barn. Do not get close to its tentacle mouth and let Nami and I handle the close quarter fighting. That is all. You two get inside and grab all the muskets we have and load them. The rest, take your positions and good luck, everyone. I turn around and take position at the tip of the barricade line. Behind me, mutters erupt in the group. Tentacle mouth. Did I hear that right? Welcome to the party, lads. A few seconds later I turn around when Nami Lian's on the earthwork beside me. How are you feeling, Ariane? I have never seen you so out of sorts. Is there a worse danger that you have not mentioned yet? No, nothing in the short term at least. Are you hurt then? No. I came to a terrible realization concerning my condition. Ah yes, 'tis terrible indeed to be a virgin at your age. Excuse me. Naminata nods knowingly, trying to act mature. It is laughable, though I appreciate the effort. You do not know the embrace of someone you are intimate with, the rhythm of sex and their skin on yours. You do not know about working together towards that sweet release, of your moans and theirs, of the taste of their lips and the scent of their arousal. The satisfaction of lying on the comfortable mattress racked by the aftershocks of your orgasm afterwards. Tragic, really. That is. What? Why do you? Arg. I sputter. First of all, I am not a virgin. Are you referring to what Lord Nirari did to you? Yes? Really? Did you have anything of what I listed just now? No? How did this conversation start anyway? I have never felt so out of control in 2 decades. You don't take a lover because you want your first time to be special, yes? Your first time making love. Is this the right time to? It is. Answer me. Yes. But. See? Virgin. We remain silent for a few moments after that, But Nami is not done. Do you want to talk about what makes you sad, my lovely little virgin? I will hit you. Ah, better. Now you're finally yourself. I am always myself. I appreciate your attempts to distract me, Nami. There is just a lot for me to think about, and that is not related to my sex life. Thank you very much. Then do it some other time. Come on, we are the first to face those creatures on Earth. And one of them is as big as an elephant, if you are not exaggerating. Don't you feel some measure of excitement? This is the hunt of a century. Vampires everywhere will envy us this prize. Let go of what you cannot control and embrace what you are, for this is our way. Yes. Yes, of course you are right. I shall enjoy the moment, for who knows what tomorrow is made of. Thank you, Nami. Ruling the city taught me to see the greater picture, and now I need to learn when to focus on the details. Tonight, we hunt. That's the spirit. I call dibs on the big one. Not a chance. We continue our friendly banter for a moment, and I find that I bet $20 with her that I would fell their alpha. In a few minutes though, the drone of flyers interrupts us. Merritt, drop the beacon and help us reload. All of you hold fire, I yell as I take one of the 5 muskets King dropped by my side. Soon enough, the first scout enters the halo of torque light surrounding our camp. Aim, shoot, switch musket. The first creature falls into the trees with its sternum turned into a smoking mess. Aim, shoot, switch musket. Merritt is by my side reloading with mechanical precision. Fearless, this one. Aim, shoot, switch musket. Nami takes a shot as well and gets one in the wings. Should have spent more time at the firing range, though I suppose I should be grateful she learned it all. Aim, shoot, switch musket. By then, several flyers are zipping around us and the baying of hounds grows closer. Nami switches to her pistol and takes down one creature that had drifted a bit too close. Aim, shoot, switch to the tall errant rifle. The first hound steps into the light and howls with a nightmarish sound. Hold. I scream, though the gasps of fear and surprise suggest they would have hesitated. Aim, shoot, switch to a pistol. 2 other hounds join the first one. Fire at will. The crack of muskets and clouds of spent powder fill the air. 2 of the hounds fall immediately, pierced by numerous bullets. The odd squad is well trained in at this distance, they won't miss. The third one yelps but still charges forward. 4 other hounds enter the fray as we switch weapons and shoot as fast as possible. I empty my remaining pistol into a flyer and send knife after knife into glittering wings. All the remaining scouts descend upon us just as the first outrider jumps over the barricade. Nami is already there. She stabs up and into its brain with her spear, before throwing the twitching corpse on the ground. Her war cry rouses the rest of us and we throw ourselves at the creatures with fury. The thrill of battle takes me and I rush into the melee. Screams of pain from humans and beasts merge into a glorious din. Fight with the sentinels. Lead them to carnage. I dance from group to group, slicing necks and appendages with my dagger to help and save wherever I can, while Nami focuses on taking out the hounds in innovative and exotic ways. Despite my efforts, one of my men is already bleeding out from a missing throat and one of the creek is holding his scratched face and bleeding eye. Faster. The thirst returns as I force myself to move in long sequences. The last scout falls to the ground and I turn to see a hound savage a bearded man on the ground as the hermit stabs it repeatedly. I grab the creature's maw and force it open. It yelps first in surprise, then in pain as I break its jaw. Savage. You do not know savagery. I will show you. I claw its eyes off and stab into its brain. Die. Then I dodge a flying piece of wood. The brood leader is here. It crashed against the barricade, sending debris and a few men sprawling including poor Merritt. Do those things know no fear? A slick barbed tongue shoots out and encircles King who screams in pain. I move and slice the filthy appendage. This mortal is mine to devour if I wish. I will not share with you, stupid invader. Kill it. I move to the side and hack and slash into the dense epidermis. The creature roars in pain and flays around with its many tentacles. I step aside. Then it pushes itself away from the barricade. Great bloody gashes spurt blood from its chest as it turns around and flees. Oh no, you don't. Metis. I roar in delight. The charger gallops from the tree line and I jump on her when she goes by. The behemoth crushes its way through trees with surprising deftness. Useless. We ride after it. Nami is rushing as well. I will not lose. Trophy. We gallop after it, following the path of devastation it left behind. Stumps and splintered trunks litter the ground, and great tracks were raked through the undergrowth. A blind man could follow this. In no time I catch the creature. Metis weaves through pines and rocks in the wooded valley, over ridges and down narrow paths full of pebbles and vegetation with a supernaturally sure foot. At the same time, I harry the creature's flanks, but the spear now works against me. Its reach is long, but it has two prongs used to keep boars away, or in this case house-sized tentacular abominations. It also prevents me from stabbing deep enough to inflict critical damage now. I dare not move on top of it in case I fail to cause a mortal wound and get hurt as a result. Nami does not share my concerns. As we reach a clearing, she jumps on the hound's back and runs to its head before stabbing down where the brain is supposed to be. Her own pike digs at least halfway through the creature. Nami's triumphant expression turns dismayed when the behemoth screeches to a halt and smashes the shaft with a slimy appendage. I smile and take my own secret weapon from the bag on my back. Why bother precision when you can blow everything up? Those are the words I live by. I light the powder charges fuse and jump off Metis' back, right in front of the brood leader's maw. Hey, ya ugly bastard! I scream, channeling my inner loath. It extends its tentacles, and for one precious instant, its gaping maw is uncovered. My timing is impeccable, and the sparkling herald of military engineering disappears in the creature's gullet. You're dead now, prey. I dance away from the reaching appendages and turn my back to it, crossing glance with a stunned Nami. The charge explodes. With one last whine, the creature falls. I win. With class and pyrotechnics, as it should be. I smile smugly and address the loser of tonight's competition. Ha, write down the ha. The creature spasms and projectile vomits a disgusting soup of saliva, blood, bile and half-digested body parts that covers me completely. For one precious second, the valley is perfectly silent, then it begins. It starts with a long drawn-out yelp of incredulity, then chuckles that quickly turn into a full belly laugh. Neminata runs out of breath and needs long, winded respirations to keep cackling her ass off while I sigh in defeat and remove gnawed fingers from my hair. Metis snorts, bends down to pick up a severed tentacle and trots off into the night. Traitor. 'Tis truly your glorious victory, fearless leader. She manages to say between hiccups of hilarity, best $20 I have ever spent. I find myself smiling at the absurdity of it all. Here I am, ankles deep in eldritch gastric fluid, wondering what it means to have no soul while my friend is mocking me, and my horse just fled with a snack. I raise my gaze to the watcher and feel the same tacit approval and comforting presence as before. I have been through a lot of unfair things, and I will certainly face even more desperate battles in the future, and that is fine. It should not prevent me from smiling now. Nami interrupts my musings. Have I mentioned that we ran out of water at the safe house? Never mind. Someone please just stab me in the heart. Chapter 61, September 4, 1833, Marquette. I awake in the darkness. As usual. I slide the sarcophagus lid open and make a note to oil the hinges. The blasted thing already looks too much like a coffin, no need to have it creak ominously. The secured room I am in is bare, except for a survival bag, a dagger, and a single lantern. I light it and let its yellow glare shed light on the bricks around me. This is my haven. It only has two exits. One of them leads to a side street and cannot be opened from the outside, while the other leads to my bedroom's hearth back inside the dream via a small vertical shaft. I follow it and unlock the passage, checking for heartbeats. I detect no mortal, though Nami's polite aura warns me of her presence. My bedroom is almost cluttered with prizes and mementos now, so much that I had to send a few paintings to storage. I have portraits of Sinead and his bride hidden away for safety reasons, as well as a few sketches of the Queen I made from memory. I wouldn't want anybody to see those. Portraits of others are displayed openly, and in the center is a special gift for Loth which I will finish soon. Nami already picked her favorite rendition of herself, a nude unsurprisingly. She is beautiful in a lithe and dangerous way, and painting her would have been a real pleasure if it were not for her constant teasing. The muse herself is currently looking out to the many roofs of Marquette. She wears a simple white shift that leaves her shoulder bare. The muscles there and on her back are toned and give her a fierce touch, like those Amazons I read about. Tonight, she is in an unusually contemplative mood and I join her in silence. She smells of vampire and fresh sex and I notice that her hair is mussed. Ah. I will leave tonight. I nod in silence, marking my understanding. She is a wanderer at heart, and I am even surprised that she stayed here for so long. You know, you are an unexpectedly competent city master. We Econ have difficulties living in towns we do not control. The masters there usually require a degree of reliability that we are not always willing to provide. It is in our nature to come and go where the wind will lead us, not to sign contracts for years of service against a fixed compensation. You were kind to let me travel when I asked for it. Such leeway is rarely granted. I see us more as friends than you as my guest, as you know. It was a pleasure to have you and I hope our paths meet again. It will, I am sure of it. Please make sure you do not die, yes? I promise to do my very best. She hugs me and I awkwardly pat her back. I am not very tactile to start with, not anymore, and the feeling of her erect nipples against my own chest is a bit, well, too intimate. We exchange a few more sentences, mostly me making sure that she has everything she needs before she leaves. There are no emotional farewells like when I left Loth behind. We do not have that kind of relationship. After I see her off from the Dream's inner court with John by my side, one of the girls comes to me with a message, a terse note by Merritt's hand requiring my presence at the living quarters. On my way there, I come across a detachment of the Home Guard back from practice. The Home Guard is one of my ideas, though perhaps not one of the best. Following the Black Hawk War, increasing concern over security has led a group of local women to form a defense committee with the explicit purpose of arming and training themselves. It was made clear that they would never form an actual militia or be deployed, but only be able to defend themselves against roving bands of marauders, hence the name Home Guard. The initiative was mostly ridiculed by Marquette's gentry and male citizenry until they called for my support. I knew that getting approval from the local council would be a near impossible task, so I just purchased even more arms from the east and organized the whole thing in a discreet and efficient manner. There were only 24 of them, and I was glad to share my love of ballistics. What was the harm? That was a mistake. After the first few training sessions, the local female gentry marched to the field and lodged a formal complaint about the trainees' behavior, mentioning it was not proper and that any sort of warfare was under the dominion of men. The wives of Marquette's mining population came to show their support of the Guard and shared with the intruders their opinion of propriety and in which exact part of their anatomy the malcontents could shove it. Followed a proper exchange of imprecations and threats that culminated with the intervention of old Marta Hartford, the spouse of a local caravan lead. An otherwise calm and composed woman, she had apparently had enough and unleashed the full might of her expensive insult arsenal. After a good 10 minutes in a maelstrom of curses questioning the interrupting party's beauty, wit, general hygiene, intimate hygiene, sexual preferences, weight, height, ancestry, eating habits, marital status and even species, the poor newcomers had left redeered and mortified. I noticed that the male population had wisely decided to lay low until the whole thing blew over, proof that frontiersmen's survival instincts are top-notch and their down-to-earth wisdom, unequaled. By that time, it was too late to withdraw my support as the issue had crystallized passions. This initiative undid hours of networking effort by Merritt with our more uptight citizens, and she still mentions it 3 months later. I don't believe those old goats would have been of use to us anyway. Who in their right mind would refuse to fire a musket? It is such a relaxing occupation. As for the Home Guard itself, Their ranks have swelled to 100 and they are quite motivated. They have become fairly accurate with practice, with most sessions ending in improvised tea parties where they mingle and gossip despite their differences in social status. It's not so bad, really. I only wish Sybil Stanton would stop cackling every time she hits the target's genitals. It is slightly disturbing. Especially because she is such a crack shot. I leave the patrol behind and decide that since I am departing so soon, any major blunder I make now should only be seen as an experiment. They are not even that major anyway. Soon, I reach the mansion used as living quarters for part of my employees. With a recent increase in business, I also used some of the lands next to the colored quarter to expand. As a result, the place is much less crowded and only a few families now occupy it. I get in through the main entrance and into the common room. Irma the housekeeper rears her ugly head through the kitchen door but recognizing me, nods soberly and returns to her business, which should be meat pies if my nose is any indicator. I climb up the step to the master bedroom and politely knock. A red-haired hurricane blows through and out, leaving me with a pile of documents, pamphlets and a childish drawing of what I assume is a cow. Gotta go keep any and the kids thanks. It proclaims in passing. I feel like life is moving on and leaving me behind. Is this what older vampires experience? I shake my head and walk in to see Ollie scrubbing spilt green paint from the floor with his shirt while Lynn is crying hysterically in a corner, holding a drawing covered in, incidentally, green paint. The culprit, an empty pot of respectable size, has rolled under their bed leaving its blood all over the wooden floor. I did not sign up for this. I signed up for mastery over mortal hordes, overseeing my numerous minions from atop a throne with the skulls of my enemies on the side and a handsome, virile man with a claymore beheading those who disrespect me and don't cover their nose when they sneeze. The man would be half naked too. Playing nanny was not part of the deal, at any point. Maybe I should just impress them. I hiss softly. And I spilt the paint, says Ollie on the edge of tears as soon as he lifts his eyes. Cub. I sigh and consider just jumping out the window and running very fast. I see that Ollie, it's not too bad. First, we'll get you and your sister cleaned up, then we will see about the room. Yes? John, tell Irma we have an emergency, please. Now, where is the bathroom? Go wash while I comfort your sister. 5 minutes later, I ambush my supposed ally as she sneaks back in from the garden entrance. Alexandria Winston Pike Merritt. The midge winces visibly under the ominous declamation of her full name. I step from the shadows and cross my arms. Her answer is rushed and just a bit panicky. So sorry, Ariane, I really had no choice. The warehouse was about to close, and I had to get that shipment of beer. And the fact that your bedroom was looking like a war zone, screaming victims included, was just a coincidence, huh? So worry. HRM, did Irma say anything? She expects you in the kitchen. Ah. When? Now. Another wince. Irma can indeed give an Iffeland under her roof, she is the queen. Merritt resolves herself to her fate, but not before delivering a parting shot. Oh, nothing new except for one thing. Mr. Pruitt is retiring from the tannery business and he wanted you to meet his son. I told him you would be over there tonight. Ah, the treacherous knave. I grab her metaphorical arrow before it can bury itself too deep in my bosom and return it, plus interest. I will go then. Oh, by the way, Lynn asked me for a trumpet for her 12th birthday and I promised her one if she behaved. I will have it delivered before the end of the month. I turn away and leave, hiding my smirk as a desperate voice falls on my uncaring ears. A trumpet? Ariane. That was a joke, right? Ariane. I'm sorry. Why? Serves her right. I walk to the tannery slowly, because I want to reflect and not at all because the entire workshop and its vicinity smells like a skunk mated with a 3 days dead Wendigo's armpit. Even if I do not breathe, the insidious stench worms its way through my delicate nostrils and my vampire senses carry it in all its pungent glory to my unwilling mind. I need a distraction and the redhead was kind enough to provide one. When Merritt first came here, she was like a cornered animal and her kids were not much better. Now, She seems much happier. She recently finished teaching tools for when Ollie and Lynn come of age and gain the ability to cast. I feel like she is finally settled. I remember her saying that vampire-held towns were black holes where to stay after dark was to invite death, or worse. I would wager that her opinion has changed now that she is confident enough to leave her children with me. I wonder how others do it. Do masks typically let citizens know of their existence? Do the members of Inaru rule like immortal aristocrats? I want to know, and soon I will. Earlier than I hoped, the Tenery comes into sentient view. At the outskirts of town and downwind, the small building houses one of Marquette's less developed, yet still vital industries. I walk into the main building and weave my way through the hanging skins and workstations to the back of the warehouse, where cured leather is stored to be later used in boots, tacks and machinery belts. Gudmund Pruitt is bent over a desk, poring over a document while a young man with large droopy eyes stands at attention by his side. It takes a few taps on the old coach's shoulder from his assistant before he realizes he has a guest. He invites me in, and offers me tea and a conversation. Pruitt is a respectable mortal. He started from nothing and made his fortune through hard work and dedication. He also never even entered the dream and is still happily married. He apparently decided to retire and to leave his business to his eldest son. The purpose of the meeting is for the two of us to become acquainted. I am the Tenery's second most important customer after the mine consortium, having purchased quite a few cobbler shops where retired girls can find a source of income. It is just one more social call that is a vital part of any business where trust is of utmost importance, and so I carry out my duty with a smile. Staying in touch with mortals is important, they keep us grounded. After half an hour of getting to know each other, I wish the son and his old man their best and invite them to drink at my place sometime, an offer they decline with a blush. Then, I take my leave. I head back to the dream to take part in our next order of business. Someone came up with the idea of a poker tournament and I approved of it. I already allocated funds for the event, but the finer points of organization and security are still to be determined. As I enter through the back door, one of the younger kitchen helpers runs to me to deliver a message. The envelope is thick and heavy, and closed with a wax seal bearing the rune of the Rosenthal. Finally. I knew this would come within the next few days, but I did not dare hope. With what happened last time I tried to re-enter Vampire Society, I was half expecting a last-minute hitch to my plan. Not this time apparently. I have done it. This is also anticlimactic. I go back to my office and close the door behind me, leaving John outside. This is an important moment. Inside the letter, I find a note in a heavy parchment filled in a cade, with 3 magical signatures at the bottom. I unfold it and read with trepidation. Ariane of the Nirari, by the present letter, we, the Rosenthal representative for North America, recognize that you have ruled over Marquette, Illinois, for a period of 20 years. As such, you are recognized as city master under the accords with all the responsibilities and privileges thereof. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Yours. I close the parchment and take a deep breath. That's it, I did it. Under the accords, no city master can be considered a rogue and summarily executed. They have to be judged. Constantine may have sold me out for some reason, but now he will have to acknowledge that I am not insane or break his own laws, which would spell his end as a ruler. I need but to signal the knights, in this case, Jimena, because I am not stupid, and head directly to Boston for a trial. I find a protective tube I use to store my paintings and secure the certificate. It is not that vital anyway. The document can be produced again, even if it were lost. The only thing I need to make sure now is to survive. I take the small note and read it. This one is in English. Melody, my name is Sorrel and I am in the employ of your allies. One of your acquaintances requested to speak to you by sending. Will you allow me on your territory? I will be awaiting your answer by Marquette's north entrance. Respectfully, Sorrel. Interesting. I open the door and have Margie send a runner. 20 minutes later, a knock on the door announces the arrival of the messenger. Sorrel is a stately man in an expensive travel duster. He has a dark beard and deep-set eyes that take everything in the room as he enters. After Margie closes the door behind him, he bows smartly and loses no time. "Milady, Salim of the Rosenthal requests an interview by sending. If it pleases you, I will call him now so that you may converse." "Greeting, Mr. Sorrel." "Yes, that is agreeable. Do you need anything?" "No, milady," he replies and grabs a leather bag by his side to retrieve a crystal orb with an intriguing aura. The mage focuses and chants in a low voice. I feel a thread going from him to the artifact and then from the artifact to somewhere. After a moment, smoke swirls in the recess of the sphere before parting to show me a nose. I raise a questioning brow. The nose retreats and I see that it is attached to a young man with caramel skin. He is clean-shaven with soft traits and large brown eyes. His face is crowned by curly brown hair and a small halo that makes him look more like an artist than an accountant despite his sober attire. "Is this thing working?" "Hello." Sorrel's jaw locks fractionally as I hide my amusement. "Yes, it is working. Am I addressing Salim of the Rosenthal?" "Ah. Indeed, and you must be Ariane of the Nirari?" "It is an honor, madam. I have heard so much about you." He is younger than me. This is not just his candidness. His gestures lack the grace and precision that comes with age for us. They feel a bit jerky to my experienced eyes. I realize that this is my first time meeting a younger vampire, though hopefully not the last. I feel strange. I always was the clueless newcomer and now, a youngling has heard of my prowess. I feel flattered. I think I like it. Only good things, I hope? "Ah, yes, of course. Is it true that you destroyed an entire compound of cultists by using swines set ablaze?" Such tactics were recorded by Pliny the Elder as used against Carthage's elephants, of course, but I never heard of any modern use. "Quite an achievement." "Yes, ha ha, quite. Next time I see Isaac I'm releasing a Boer family and a barrelful of firecrackers in his bedroom. But enough of this. I dispatched Monsieur Sorrel because of troubling rumors which I have since then confirmed. A man by the name of Sullivan has been making waves in Chicago, and a fairly accurate description of your person has been shared by several intelligence organizations. As we speak, that Sullivan fellow has gathered a small army with the backing of a group we have not identified yet, and they're on their way south to, and I quote, "purge Marquette of its devilish influence." I should have killed him when I had a chance. I have been too cautious and must now pay the price for my lack of foresight. Oh well, live and learn. We are pleased to offer you an escort to Boston that will safely deliver you in front of Constantine, before this army arrives. Out of the question. Salim smiles lightly and his entire demeanor becomes lighter. What a change from the usual vampire's guarded expression. Isaac said you would answer that. He says that he took the liberty of contacting Jimena to arrest you just in case Anatole twists the rules even more than he already has. She is on her way. She will be in touch as soon as your town is deemed safe. I appreciate it. He bows respectfully. You are most welcome, Ariane of the Nirari. I must ask though, is it wise to face that danger by yourself? This army is made out of roving bands of mercenaries and pardoned outlaws, but surely, even this is too much. Don't worry, I was expecting something of the sort. You were. I was, and if they had not come, why, I add with fangs displayed, I believe I would have been disappointed. Chapter 62 September 22, 1833, Marquette. The council room is stunned into silence after hearing my revelations. 10 years ago, I would have been ridiculed for stating those facts in public, in front of a ruling assembly. Now, my reputation lends credence to my words, and the resources at my disposal are second to none within the town. Even the Mine Consortium cannot match me in terms of military strength and influence. They know I speak the truth. The mayor is the first to recover and passes a nervous hand in his thinning gray hair. Are you positive about their numbers? Barring any major desertion, there should indeed be 250 fighters at the very least, with a good fifth mounted. I cannot believe it. Sullivan, what was he thinking? Silence reigns while members eye each other nervously. Holden, The banker and one of Sullivan's previous supporters steps forward. I have a good idea about what his argument will be, and I need it to be stated and addressed here and now, lest it be mentioned later behind closed doors. We cannot afford dissent. Gentlemen, we are facing a destructive force, but Sullivan himself is a known defender of the faith, if a bit misguided. Our first priority should be to enter into a negotiation with them rather than seek bloodshed like savages. The owner of Marquette's only luxury goods store, an old man with a bushy white beard by the name of Dean, grumbles in the background. You called it misguided. Please, gentlemen, please, do not let fear and anger guide your mind. We are all civilized people here. I am sure that everything can be solved with just enough goodwill. Easy for you to say, replies the furious old man. You licked his arse till it shone like a freshly minted nickel. Ooh, good one. I am merely asking that we hear his demands and see if an understanding cannot be reached. His eyes bore into mine, or at least try to until he flinches. The sacrifice of the few to redeem the many is a small price to pay for peace and salvation. Jeers, insults and some cries of approval are exchanged by the participants until the mayor screams. Enough. That is the first time I have heard him raise his voice in all those years. This is pointless. Of course, there will be a discussion, and of course, it will be for nothing. The mayor stands up and walks through the room while we watch and wonder. He is usually such a stickler for protocol that even I find myself eager to see where this will all lead. I know what kind of man I am. During the 7 years of my office, I have served as the city's most senior public servant. The people have followed my recommendations not because of any sort of authority, but because I always found arrangements that would benefit everyone. I have always pursued concord and compromises in all my dealings. It was my goal to resolve issues in the most peaceful and agreeable way possible between the miners and the merchants, the rich and the poor, the farmers and the caravan hands, for the benefit of all. Oh, I know what they say behind my back. That I am meek and weak. And they are not wrong. I am not the blood of noble warriors and soldiers who carved this land and took it from the grasping hands of the old world like some of you here. I favor peace more than I favor victory, and I will admit it. And it is because of this that I tell you now, there will be no agreement here. By this time we are all drinking his words, and the entire room watches, enraptured, as a leader is forged in a time of peril. Sullivan will not be content to close a bordello and bar a few drinking establishments. Do you believe a man who would forfeit due process and the rule of law so easily would be satisfied by a few concessions? Do any of you honestly think you will still have a voice in this council when he's done? No, I say. No. A man who is shunned and seeks to impose his will on the people not by his virtue or his ideas, but by the strength of his arms, will not stop until the world is broken and twisted to his vision. Sullivan will purge this city until its every responsibility, every position is filled by lackeys and sycophants. Even then, he will track opposition where he believes it may be. And if you ask for proof, ask yourself instead how he managed to rally so many men to his cause. Who backed up his claim with coin and arms? We do not know, but what I do know, Mr. Banker, is that an operation of this magnitude is an investment. And this investor will expect to be paid back. There is no wealth in Marquette but the one we created and own ourselves, and mark my words, it will be taken. No, gentlemen, there will be no arrangement. There is only one word for a man who would impose his rule through strength and subjugation, and that word is tyrant. As Jefferson once said, it is the blood of tyrants as well as ours that must from time to time refresh the tree of liberty. That time, gentlemen, is upon us, for I have not worked so hard and sacrificed so much to see my beloved city fall into the hands of a fanatic and a madman. Regardless of your decision tonight, I will fight this man to my last breath and send him and his minions to the depths of hell itself, one bullet at a time if I have to, for Marquette will stay free, no matter the cost. The room is so perfectly quiet you could hear the shadow of a pin drop, then old man Dean bursts from his seat and trumpets. Bloody well said. Thundering applause turns to a standing ovation. I am quite proud of our little mayor, and when did he even grow a spine? His incisive words shattered the peace party's fragile unity in under a minute, as even the most cowardly of them succumbed to peer pressure. The rest follows with a degree of efficiency I am simply unused to. A town council resolution written in a single hour and voted unanimously? That is simply unheard of. In short order, the council mobilizes the militia and draws defensive lines that are quickly barricaded. The entire city helps with its erection while the mayor enchants the masses with rousing speeches, giving the entire affair an air of festival. I know what is coming and make my own preparations. The Order of Gabriel prefers covert methods, and my old spellcaster enemies are all broken, including the Pike clan. That leaves only one faction aggressive and powerful enough to commandeer an army like one does a wagon. Vampires. September 24, 1833, Marquette. A vampire is coming to Marquette. I have Harrigan, my head of security, scout their encampment. Since he already looks like a highwayman, he will fit right in, and I make sure to remind him that the dream will be burnt to the ground if Sullivan wins, and not to get any bright ideas. My henchman confirmed it. An old acquaintance is on his way, and I am eager to receive him with all the respect he deserves. I am not confident that I can defeat him in single combat, but I can stall him long enough for his rabble to disintegrate. The ragtag band expects to intimidate 100 militiamen at most. They have no idea about the pyrotechnic devastation I will unleash upon their sorry hides. In preparation for their arrival, I have taken a few additional measures. I expect the fight to extend during the night, and my minions, my troops, will meet some light to see, so we erected pyres covered with pitch that can be lit easily from afar. I am sure that my own security will fight as I recruited them myself with this possibility in mind. The great question is, will the Home Guard? As I make my way to their training field where they conduct a late practice, I consider that they have trained to take pot shots at marauders and cattle thieves, not to hold back a determined force. The warehouses of the northern district fall away, and as I pass the last guarded barricade, I hear the sounds of marching troops and clamors. The Home Guard is drilling in their usual spot, but without the usual good humor. I have avoided their meetings so far and only now realize how many of my girls are in their ranks. Some of them have not even retired from the dream yet. Their expressions are grim and determined, though a few flinch when they look at the group of men arrayed at the edge of the grassy expanse. Those spectators wear clothes of varying quality, and the only thing really tying them together is the general sense of anxiety they display. A few of them spot me, and a portly old man in a mended suit limps towards me, waving a cane in the air. "It's your fault, it's all your fault," he screams in a shrill voice. John stops him casually with a hand to the chest. The man's anger turns to my bodyguard for a fraction of a second before self-preservation kicks in, and he cautiously steps back. A few others pile on behind him to join their accusations to his. "You and your silly ideas. Not the role of the fairer sex. Cease this nonsense forthwith." And so on. I can easily imagine the cause of their anger. The Home Guard would have perhaps disbanded were it not for my support, and though the initiative was not mine, I am an obvious and easy target for their recriminations. I weather their insults with composure and the certitude that a solution will show itself very soon. In fact, it is currently crossing the field with thunder on its brows. A heavy-set woman walks around the small assembly and plants her feet before the old man, who now looks like a child caught stealing eggs. Augustus Edmund Schrödinger Jr. What a mouthful. My little dove. None of that. You dare shame me before the entire damn town? The front line is no place for a cutesy darling like you, wife of mine. Don't you dare butter me up. Do you think I'm stupid? Y'all think that you can just go to your homes and wait for it to blow over, huh? Let me tell y'all something. Jenny there, she was in Johnstown when it got taken over by a bandit group, and I don't expect things to go better here if they get their way. If y'all pull your pants and turn around now, don't expect us women to be safe, because a winning army always needs to be entertained, got it? Now Augustus, when you married me in a barn, I didn't say nothing, did I? This is getting pleasantly personal. The men present recoil, for they know the tone, but we gossip lovers lean forward with anticipation. "No, my honeypot," replies the poor sod. "And when you were off to drink with your buddies while I was sick with the runs and taking care of the kids, you did not hear me complain, did you?" "Well, did you? No sugar. Ah, the wonders of selective memory. And when your ma came to live with us, did I leave her out in the rain? No, darling. Then if you got to listen once in your goddamn life, it's now, because I sure as hell ain't waiting for those clowns to walk around town like they own it." "But surely," emerges a voice from the small crowd of men, "Mr. Sullivan wouldn't let them." There is a precious, delicious moment of silence as the entire assembly looks at the culprit, a youngish man whose face turns red when he realizes that his neighbors have wisely decided to step away from him. "Peter Wilkins, is that you I hear spouting nonsense?" screams an elderly voice from the back. Before the lynching can begin in earnest, Mrs. Schrodinger signals that she is not done. "Sullivan is an asshole," gasps. I said it. Whoever thinks he'll hold his word has forgotten his vow to uphold justice? To protect the people? Can you explain how we're protected with an army moving on us? Penelope dear, what is it you said? Those who would give up essential liberty, to purchase a little temporary safety, deserve neither liberty nor safety, answers an owlish girl with a lecturing voice. And they won't get either, Schrodinger continues with a deceptive calm. Mark my words, those kind of people, once they have tasted power, they'll never give it back without a fight. We might as well fight now while we still can win. A hum of approval comes from the female crowd and poor Augustus sighs, defeated. I understand, wife, not that I like it, but I understand. I'm just so worried. I suppose it can't be helped then. We must do what we must do, he replies, and walks away. The crowd disperses soon after, and while the girls go back to training, Mrs. Schrodinger and Stetson stay next to me. I break the silence once we have enough quiet. I need to ask them. I expected arguments, but I don't get any. I suppose you do. Not that we need your approval to fight, you know? Of course not. I just want those beside me to know what they are in for. Yeah, just let's get this over with. We walk slowly to the field, and the nervous women gather around in a vague circle. Some look calm, some less, but unless I miss my guess, they're all here. Well, better get it over with. There are many forms of courage, and not all of them require violence. There are many ways to serve, to be useful to a community in peril. In the coming days, we will need hands to work, to take care of the wounded and to repair the destruction that will be done. I want you to understand that this is all anyone can ask of you. Tomorrow, Sullivan's troops will arrive and there will be a battle. I want you all to realize that in order to fight for the town and your sisters in arms, you must be willing to look a man in the eyes and pull the trigger to kill. You must be ready to see your friends bleed, suffer and die, perhaps even make the ultimate sacrifice yourselves. There is no shame in joining the nurses or the clean-up crews, and there is more than enough time to do so. Those of you who gather on the square tomorrow must be ready to go all the way, for our enemy will have no mercy. I will now leave you to make your choice, and hopefully, we will all see each other at the end of this. That is all. When I leave, the silence is complete, but it does not take 1 minute before the drill resumes. I have my answer. They will fight. September 25, 1833, Marquette. The moon is full tonight, and its light shines on us with a pleasant glow. The visibility is so good that even mortals have no difficulties moving around. I wonder if this was intentional, just like the timing of the invading force is intentional. The troop was set to arrive at midday but was delayed by their inherent lack of organization. They set up camp at the northern edge of town at nightfall and have been recovering and eating ever since, laughing raucously and singing ribald songs as if victory was already assured. My men have spent the day making preparations, and I have refrained from looking at them from my dream palace, though I knew I could. I would rather save my strength for the confrontation to come. Now we stand on horseback facing the quickly assembling louts. There are 300 of them in eclectic clothes, more a mob than a proper force. They gather around bandit lords and mercenary leaders in dense packs. An army from another age, as fierce and undisciplined as Germanic warriors facing the Roman legions. Behind us, the warehouse district is heavily barricaded except for an obvious weak point. The main street only has basic fortifications that a man can climb in a few seconds, manned in part by, well, women. Our purpose should be obvious. We look weak, so that they do not split their force to besiege us from less defended districts. We want them to look down upon us and charge forward expecting to smash our resistance in one fell swoop. It is working. My hearing picks assailants already commenting on what kind of girl they prefer. Hopefully, their lack of discipline will deny any flexibility to their leadership. We, however, have a plan which relies on drawing them further into the warehouse square. It has the merit to be simple, like most of my plans, and involve exploding things. Like most of my plans, actually. We also have other options if they do not take the bait. The small delegation by my side shifts uncomfortably. I have always endeavored to look proper and a bit meek to offset my position as madam. No one can look meek atop metas. The nightmare is a foot taller than even the tallest stallion, and it took her all of 2 seconds to cow every other horse here. I am wearing my combat dress, which is sleek and form-fitting and looks exactly like what it is, armor. I also took my hunting spear and rifle, which hangs from Meta's harness, and 2 pistols as well as a long knife. The various people of the delegation force their eyes forward, then cannot resist and one by one, turn to me. They blink when their eyes confirm my appearance and then resume looking forward. After 10 seconds or so, disbelief forces them to look at me again to confirm that those outrageous memories are true. It's a circle. If their cats had come home dragging the corpse of the neighbor's dog behind it, they would probably feel the same. It's on my side, but it is also much more dangerous than I anticipated. I care little, for we have reached the end game. No matter what happens here, I will be gone in a few days. I am beyond worrying about my image. There are 6 of us, representing Marquette's citizenry. Half the council is here as well as another woman who represents the gentry and would not spit in my face if it were on fire. A few riders emerge from the quivering horde facing us and make their lazy way across the plain. There are 12 of them, which is a clear message and the exact amount of petty intimidation I expected by the man facing me, on their right. Besides Sullivan, he is the only person who does not look like he attacks caravans for a living. Riding a nightmare, he still wears a beige ensemble from another age like the first day I met him. His handsome face is still crowned by dark hair and his blue eyes still show the same utter lack of interest. The only difference comes from his aura. Lambert of the Lancaster, Maluson's counterpart and Lady Moore's enforcer, is now a master. He meets my eyes and the annoyance he conveys is the most overt display of emotion I ever felt from him. The moment passes and he stares with condescending amusement at the town behind me. I have been dismissed. Sullivan stops uncomfortably close to the mayor and his own men do not exactly surround us, but the message is clear. He sneers when he sees me, and the arrogance of self-righteousness is clear to all as he first speaks. I will be short. I am not here to negotiate but to offer an ultimatum. You will renounce your wicked ways, or your entire city will be purged from evil. To show your contrition and acceptance of the light and will of God, you will deliver this woman, and her staff, to my custody. You will relinquish your weapons and direct yourself to the town church where you will await judgment and prayer. Do so and I shall be merciful. Even those who oppose me will be granted an opportunity to atone for their sins and keep their property and families mostly intact. Resist me, and I shall visit upon you the wrath of the Lord himself. We will track and punish evil and slay all in our path, for God is just and will sort you out. You have an hour, do not tarry. And with all the dignity of the consummate bloodthirsty lordling, he turns around and leaves. The men behind stay long enough to growl and spit at our feet, and a few even ask us to resist as their men need to unwind. Lambert was the second person to leave. I did not even warrant a word from him, apparently. The mayor turns with as much disdain and dignity as his short, portly frame allows and we follow him quietly back to the barricade. The sentries open a short passage to let us through and close it immediately after. Still without a word, we follow our fearless leader to the command tent where Captain Wallace, head of the militia and entirely in my pocket, awaits us. Instead of speaking, Mr. Mayor walks to his corner and rummages through his personal effects until he finds a plump smoked sausage. The rest of the council surrounds him in a half circle, but still he does not speak. Instead, he takes out a pocket knife and unfolds it, then plops the sausage on the town map I generously provided and that had remained free of grease stains so far. He raises his eyes and starts in a calm voice. My grandfather taught me a story of England. It is a good one, and though you may think my timing is ill-advised, I beg you listen to me now as all will be made clear. In 1649, a man by the name of Cromwell managed to install a republic, and though we Americans see such regimes with benevolence, I assure you, it was anything but. Grandpa told me of how they took power by defeating the Royalists. A victorious regime will of course, for the sake of stability, purge the opposition from its government, sometimes permanently. He cuts the end of the sausage and discards it on the side. 'Tis only natural after all, and so nobody helped. Then, the Republic had to be united, so the Welsh were next to be brought into the fold, and who would even help them? The others were not Welsh, and so they did not help. A new slice joins the first one. But then dissenters surged in Scotland, and they had to be put down as well. By then there were few people willing to help the Scots. And see, the proud Highlanders stood alone and divided, and were defeated. By now, the plump sausage is less than half its original size. And of course the Commonwealth extended to Ireland. Cromwell brought the Secession War to a close, and who helped the Irish? No one, for there was no one left. There is a fat third of the sausage remaining. And of course, for the good of all and the salvation of their soul, attending the Church of England was made compulsory, and who would oppose it? No one. They had to bend or be fined for every transgression. The mayor drops one last slice on the discarded pile and raises the stump of the original piece between stubby fingers. It is barely larger than the other parts. You are all brilliant men. I do not need to expand on this fable too much. Know this, when Sullivan realizes that the disappearance of Mrs. Lethe has not brought about the divine kingdom he envisioned, he will seek her he perceives as the nearest agent of corruption, then the next, then the next. By the time he is done, not one of you will be left whole. I will not even discuss his proposal with you, for it is not a compromise but terms of surrender with a side of threats. Now, does anyone object? Speak now without fear. Nobody speaks. Even the supporters of peace can feel the coming of pitch and gallows, and although some would disagree in other circumstances, they now keep their peace. Then it is decided. Mr. Wallace, we will proceed as planned. I will personally, and alone, deliver our decision to Sullivan. Gentlemen, it has been an honor. With all due respect, sir, I object, and everyone freezes. I may have a safer and more obvious way to convey our refusal. Do you, now? Yes. I assure you, the message would be clear as day. Very well. Gentlemen, return to your position and make ready. We shall express our opinion on Sullivan's offer shortly, and God help us all. Dismissed. Would the Christian God help me against another vampire? An interesting perspective. The council files out of the room in order and they spread around. I step out with the mayor at my side. All the present troops mill around with no clear purpose, throwing furtive glances at us as if I could not see them all waiting for us to speak. Those mortals are so cute, pretending to be busy like that. They are mine. We kill together. I make a gesture and they slowly gather around me with a mix of determination and shyness. John takes his place by my side with a serious air and a heavy wolf slayer in his oversized paws. A full quiver hangs from his shoulders. It takes a good minute for the bashful group to shuffle itself. The odd squad is spread around town, ready to suppress those I suspect of turning coat with only the Creek brothers present. The rest of my forces are all here. From my right to my left, I find my security detail led by an eager Harrigan literally covered in arms. Then comes a group of armed volunteers who joined us at the last hour, led by Mr. Schrodinger, who would not, and I quote, Leave my wife to give those ruffians what for. Finally, the home guard is here dressed in their Sunday best of all things. Everyone is wearing blue armbands for easy identification. I turn to the mirror and see him sneakily eat a piece of sausage. When he realizes I noticed, he shrugs and adds in a quiet voice, "Eating always helps me settle down, sorry." Well, that explains his gut, and now his magnificent demonstration is ruined by the suspicion that he might have had further motives when savaging that poor snack. "Would you like to do the honors?" he adds with a quiet voice. Why, I am impressed. I never expected him to let me have command, for this is surely what he meant. I move to the side and climb atop Metis. My persona goes from overdressed madam to warlord in a second, and when Metis takes one step forward, they recoil. She snorts in what I could swear is amusement. They are all waiting, and I need to be convincing, for the Lancasters' speciality is their influence on mortals. Those bandits and mercenaries outside have been gathered under his orders, and he will motivate them to unheard of displays of savagery, I just know it. Lambert has always been the very essence of arrogance and petty destruction. It is not enough that I am taken out or captured, he will destroy everything I have ever built, erase each of my achievements from the map. That is who he is, and what his men are here for. I take a deep breath and channel my inner predator. Tonight, I am no longer the hand behind the scene. I am Marianne of the Nirari, Princess of the Blood. I belong to the oldest clan that was ever made, and my essence is that of the conquerors. I have killed hundreds and carved a path of blood to survive, to free myself and now to rule. This little mongrel cannot possibly understand what I have gone through. This field trip of his will be his last. I smile wide and in one fell swoop, capture the entire crowd. My eyes find Harrigan first, and I use what I learned from Loth. And where are my men, my keepers of the dream, gamblers and drinkers, fighters and killers one and all? Where are my rascals? They roar as I wake their bloodlust and their will to destroy and dominate. I turn next to the armed citizen of Marquette. And where are the militia volunteers? The fathers and workers of our city? Who took arms to defend their homes and their families? Where are the stalwart defenders of Marquette? Another roar joins the first, this one made of pride and determination. They are the peaceful men driven to violence by circumstances, and like all those unused to violence, tonight they will know no restraint. And finally, where are the women of Marquette, my Amazons? Where are the frontier Haradans, the unbowed and unconquered? Where is the home guard? The third roar is shrill and high-pitched until a shriller voice yet interrupts it. Brave defender, pick your flintlock. And 100 voices echo. And remember, aim for the cock. A small part of me is horrified while the other only thinks, good, Maimon terrorize. When did they even? Never mind. Let me just continue. No army will come and save us. No miracle will sweep our enemies from the field. Look at those around you. This is it. We are what stands between the ravenous horde outside and your loved ones, your families and your homes. Some of us will bleed and some of us will die, and it is up to everyone to make sure that the sacrifice will not be in vain. So take your muskets and aim to kill. Tonight, you are not wives, husbands and citizens. Tonight you are warriors, fighting for each other and for your town. So tell me, what are you tonight? Warriors. Then warriors, remember the plan. Men in front, women behind, sharpshooters to the sides. Fight without fear and slay without mercy, and any wanker that shoots before I order, I'll shove their muskets up their arse. The roar that follows is deafening, and I can see from here the enemies hastily form ranks. No fighters will surrender, who can make such a cry? Yes, come to the slaughter, pray. I turn to my artillery assistant, an old man with a serious expression. Let's give them our formal reply. Half a mile mark, fire at will. The man turns and whistles, before shaking a red flag at someone far behind us. A moment later, it begins. I always found the mortars make a deeper, more quiet sound than field guns. Few things offer a clearer refusal than indirect artillery fire. The first boom resounds behind us and makes the dust on the ground vibrate. The shell climbs to the zenith of its trajectory, leaving behind a red trail and a whistle like the world's angriest teapot. A few seconds later, the projectile hits the earth with a resounding boom that even distance cannot dull. A beautiful fiery plume erupts in the middle of the encampment, setting tents and supplies ablaze. Some men scream as they are torched by the Scarag magical shell, the same one Ascendancy used against us at the Battle of Black Harbor. I really much prefer to be on the side that does the bombardment. I only wish I could see Lambert's face right now. The mass of enemies is now running forward, a stupid maneuver that will have them exhausted before they reach us. Ah, but Lambert brought highwaymen to a war. I brought soldiers. Our line waits silently in front of the barricade in orderly ranks. Check range and adjust, I tell the spotter, and leave him to do his job. Merit is good at what she does, and with the support of the borrowed Rosenthal mage, they will be able to fire quite a few shells from the protection of a circle. I signal the Creek brothers immediately after. Light them up. Soon enough, flaming arrows land on the prepared pyres. The pitch goes off in an instant and a reddish glow lights the field. My mortals will have perfect visibility. We wait in silence and I turn with curiosity to the mayor. He is mumbling a prayer under his breath which irritates my ear. In his hands, he holds a Bible and a pistol. Praying for forgiveness, mayor. No melody, I am praying for courage. Forgiveness will come later. He returns a wan smile and I tap his shoulder as a sign of support. He is here. It is all that matters. The foes are still trotting towards us. Their screams and jeers offer a stark contrast with our own disciplined ranks. No one speaks, no one moves. There are only hard faces all around. The mortar fire now falls behind the assembled mass until the spotter raises another flag and the next screaming shell lands, this time a bit short, still blocking the path with an incandescent crater. Somewhere to my left, a man throws up, only to be offered a handkerchief by his neighbor. The next shell lands squarely in the middle of the enemy. 24 men are instantly slain and their dismembered limbs rain on their comrades in arms, who remain unfazed. Lambert's work, no doubt. It will take a lot to shock them. Hot out there, isn't it? Whispers one of my bouncers. A few dark chuckles welcome the comment. In a few more moments, the first foes reach the halo of light. The blaze reflects in their manic eyes and the glint of their weapons. A low roar starts as we finally come in their view. The first few start running again towards us as the rest spread in the semblance of a line. 150 yards. Ready. The first rank lifts their muskets. Aim. A forest of steel-tipped branches leans down and forward. 100 yards. Fire. The roar of the volley makes my ears tingle. The blue cloud of spent powder rises towards the sky as the first rank kneels and reloads without a word. In front of us, only a fraction of the men fell, but the advance slows as even the most brainwashed moron hesitates to walk towards their death. A few of the rowdiest bandits return fire with little effect. "Come on, you bastards, you want to live forever?" screams a man in fancy clothes looking vaguely like a uniform. He raises a saber and the foes resume their advance. Faster still. Ready. I yell again. Aim. 50 yards. Fire. The home guard fires at the range where most can hit a target the size of a small mirror. More than 20 men fall instantly while others scream, holding mangled parts of their anatomy. The man with the saber lets out a horrendous scream and falls to the side, holding what is left of his manhood. A girly titter with just a touch of insanity caresses my ears. I turn to the mayor. It's Stetson. She has a fixation. He just nods, looking quite pale. The forward line is now in full sprint, and even the humans should be able to hear their many feet pounding the ground, the heavy breaths from their chest and the yells from their lips. They are like a gigantic creature with 100 hearts, bleeding and hurting, but quite alive and very dangerous. A maddened grizzly. We are a steel line in ties, hats and frills. And they will not break us. Ready. The first rank stands back up except a few too nervous to reload. Aim. 20 yards. Fire. This time the volley is devastating. Dozens of men fall and roll to the ground, only to be trampled by the rest as they have worked themselves up to a frenzy. The fastest warriors sprint towards us with abandon. First rank, fix bayonets. Second rank, fire at will. With practiced ease, the men turn their line into a deadly expanse of sharpened steel. The home guard behind is reloading frantically. The mortar falls silent after one last shell as the enemy is now too close to us. And then it is too late to plan. The melee is joined when the first fighters jump over the barricade. The first ones end impaled, but some manage to smash into our ranks, felling men here and there. It only takes a few seconds for the line to be bogged in heavy combat. Immediately after, the pressure is lessened when the home guard start firing on assailants as they climb the barricade. I see a man climb up and take aim at our line. I blow his brains out just as a quarrel from John's own crossbow sends a pair of ruffians flying back over the edge. After that, the other foes get the message. The barricade lessened the initial shock and my first line holds fast. On the left, the citizens fight defensively, covering each other with care and fighting with unity. To the right, my own security detail just makes use of the arsenal I put at their disposal to dispatch their foes with matchless savagery. Knives and balanced war axes fly through the air to catch the bandits as they pass over the barricade. Pistols are unloaded at point-blank range, more often than not in someone's face. The supporting fire from the home guard makes a real difference, but there are still almost 250 enemies and little by little, they push through. Before long, too many men are atop the barricade for our muskets to dispatch them fast enough, and it is the scoundrels' turns to shoot into our ranks. The first female screams join the chorus of pain and fury. A girl beside me gets shot in the heart, fires her muskets and falls dead. Wounds accumulate and we are steadily pushed back. I reload my pistol almost inhumanly fast and take out officers and sharpshooters, but it is not enough. Then it happens. A highwayman covered in clay pots climbs on a crate and holds two of his grenades to the cigar on his cracked lips. Damn it. I curse with dismay. I need to. But no time. I grab a knife until a crack from my side surprises me. The madman covered in grenades falls with a surprised look and a deep hole in his chest. The mayor looks at the spent pistol in his trembling hands. Nice shot. I think it is time. I whistle and get the attention of the spotter. He nods and takes a trumpet hanging from his side. The clear sound of a horn covers the din of the battle. All right, lads, lob it. Sparks emerge from deep within our ranks and soon, our own grenades arc overhead before falling amongst the chaos of the opposing side. The attackers mill around in despair. Some fall to their knees in an attempt to seize the bombs before they can detonate. I turn around and gallop to a side alley with the mayor and John on my heels. Our troops use the confusion to run, clinging to the side of the street. In the alley, Marquette's entire mounted detachment awaits with impatience. Anxiety has been replaced by anticipation in the eyes of those men, and they are more than eager to join the fray. It's about damn time, grumbles their commander. Gentlemen, forward. I follow them as they slowly make their way into the main street. In front of us, men and women flee in disorder, but as planned, they leave the center of the main street free. The chaos from the explosions and relative lack of visibility allow most to slip away safely. Form up. The riders form a tight wedge behind their leaders. Lead, crush and subjugate. No, let them do their job. If I charge now, I won't hold back. Lambert is still missing. Sards out, charge. The entire detachment jumps forward without restraint, men scream at the top of their lungs, and somewhere in the middle, a musician with a trumpet is having the time of his life. How does a disorganized infantry hold a cavalry charge? The answer is, they do not. The tightly grouped spear tip cleaves its way through the bandits, crushing them underfoot. I do not follow. I move around, picking stragglers with my spear. Some of my mortals are on the ground and beyond my help. I still spot a figure in a brown dress leaning against the wall to the side. She is the last one. I push Metis forward and we pick up the girl, who I remember as Penelope. She grabs my arm with a blood-stained hand. Her head rests against my shoulder. Somewhere in the melee, she lost her hat. Her brown hair tickles my nose as we ride back to Warehouse Square. We do not speak. She spasms one last time in my arms. When I lower her lifeless body in the arms of nurses behind our backup barricade, they too say nothing. There will be time to honor the fallen after. Warehouse Square is the largest open space in the entire city. My mortals have regrouped and reformed rank behind the last barricade. Some are missing. Some others wear bloody bandages if their wounds are not too serious. The wails of pain behind us comes from the infirmary. They remind everyone that there are no other fallback positions. A minute passes and a cavalry detachment emerges in disorder from the main street, before turning right to their assigned position. The enemy does not follow. Come on. You smell blood in the water. You want to follow us. Soon enough, a sound reaches my ears and explains the delay. Thundering hooves make the earth shake and raucous screams leave us with no doubt. Their cavalry is in the city. They must have taken the time to clear the barricade and allow themselves in. The sound of the charge grows louder and louder. The Dream Security, Citizen and Home Guard cling to their muskets with determination. They are bloodied but not down. Some look with undisguised anticipation at the piece beside them. The line of cavalry emerges from the darkness in one great torrent, with Sullivan at the head. He holds a crucifix in one hand, his face a mask of exultation. He screams with fervor when he spots us. It is God's will. I could not have put it better myself. Fire. At the head of the charge, the riders show me a unique gamut of expression as they notice the gaping maw of the 24-pounder facing them. Curiosity, surprise, horror and even acceptance. They all disappear as the field gun opens into them with a canister shot at optimal range. The world goes deaf. The cannon vomits a storm of fire and steel that takes the charge and enfile it. Tens of men are turned to red mist and flying organs in a moment, and the survivors can only look in terror as they bleed and die from musket fire. To the sides, the cavalry detachment and a militia squad that was waiting in reserve for this exact moment maul the foe in a deadly crossfire. Yes, perfectly executed. Well done, my mortals. They have a fucking cannon. Screams a mercenary with dismay. Indeed not, silly human, indeed not. We have two. Battery 2, fire. The second field gun reaps a bloody harvest at another angle. Those who escape the devastation of the first blow crumble and die. Panic spreads and for the first time, uncertainty pierces through the veil of fanaticism that Lambert placed there. They are ripe for the taking. Sullivan looks askance at the bolt nailing his cross to his palm, courtesy of John who can certainly be petty when he wants to. Our eyes meet. I did not shred their ranks with my claws, I did not engage Lambert in a battle of charm. I fought like a queen, and now, I win. Sullivan, you were outplayed from the very beginning. Checkmate. The lead ball catches the fallen judge under the nose. His corpse leans back, spread eagle on top of his panicked horse as it flees the carnage. Now lads and lasses, let's kick them out. The order to charge comes from everywhere. Militia and cavalry sweep through the disoriented attackers like a tidal wave. Citizens and guards push forward with a great cry, eager to reclaim their land and the bodies of their friends, eager to exorcise the fear that had gripped their gut for days. It is too much for the bandits who expected easy prey. They disintegrate and run away with all the speed they can muster. And yet, the battle is not over. Musket shots ring from our left and I realize the issue immediately. A significant part of Sullivan's men, maybe half, went to the side. They probably expected to flank us. I rally the militia, still fresh and out for blood. Their officer already feels the danger and rushes to their aid. I opened the way with the ever-faithful John by my side, until I see him. Lambert stands in the middle of a deserted shopping road. His usual air of arrogant nonchalance is gone, replaced by frustration. He is so emotionally dead that I wonder if anger is beyond him. The militia behind me instinctively turns to a side alley to go on. You go as well, my friend, this is my battle. John nods and reluctantly rides away. This is it. I climb down from Metis. Vampires are too fast to make mounted battle practical, and I do not want her to be harmed needlessly. The street is empty. The shops there are barred and their goods hidden. It almost looks like a ghost town, but the red glow of fires and the cracks of discharging firearms belies the sense of calm that permeates it. Lambert walks to me, he the master and the enforcer, me the one who escaped and prospered. He thinks me weak, still. Even with his men fallen and his plans in tatters, his prideful demeanor is unchanged. He does not understand yet, but he will. I am queen here, and he is prey told. Continued. Thanks for listening.